Chris Wray is issuing a stark warning for Americans. Listen.
We consistently see that it's the Chinese government that poses the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security. There's been a lot of discussion about the potential that China may try to forcibly take over Taiwan. Now, were that to happen, it would represent one of the most horrific business disruptions the world has ever seen.
This warning comes just months after President Biden's Justice Department ended the China Initiative program, which was aimed at preventing espionage by China. Maybe Director Wray should brief the president and let him know the Chinese government is stealing American technology, the largest cyber threat we face, and oh, by the way, has designs on taking over Taiwan, too. My last guest, John Ratcliffe, said all of that about 2 years ago. Joining us now is Florida Congressman Michael Waltz, who serves on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, it's great to see you. It seems like a recurring theme. China is the greatest threat we face.
Yep.
So what can or should we do about it?
Well, first of all, Trey, American industry corporations need to listen to the FBI and his counterpart in British intelligence very carefully. They need to wake up. If you do business with a Chinese company, if you do business in China, you allow their researchers into your labs, they are going to steal your intellectual property. It is a matter, it doesn't make them bad people or bad businesses or bad Chinese students. Their government is forcing them to do so. They will set up a competitor, state subsidize it, put you out of business, and then dominate that market. And what do they do with those key technologies? Number one, they're creating local, global dependencies on them. That's everything from our pharmaceuticals to our rail cars to artificial intelligence and technology. And then number two, as part of their CivMil program, they are handing key civilian technologies, artificial intelligence, advanced materials, over to their military to fund their military buildup. Trey, historians are going to look back at all of this and say, you funded your greatest competitor, you funded America, your demise, and we are drunk on Chinese dollars. From Wall Street to the NBA to academia to our politicians across the board, we have got to start, instead of defunding police, how about we defund dictatorships? And my message to every group I talk to is, when you see made in China, put it down. It's not just a jobs and a human rights issue. It's a national security issue. We've got to bring those supply chains back home.
All right. To that point, Congressman, during the pandemic, there was robust discussion about our reliance on China for certain goods. Is that discussion still ongoing? Because the reliance is still there, but I don't hear the discussion quite like I did, at least not on television. Maybe it's being talked about in Congress.
Well, it is, Trey. I mean, look, I know a lot of your viewers are probably having, a lot of the shooters out there are having a hard time getting ammunition. You know, one of the reasons why is because a key chemical in the primer that fires the bullet is only produced in China and Russia. China has cornered the market on it. It's called antimony. Well, I put in this most recent defense bill to direct the Defense Department to start stockpiling it, create a strategic reserve of some of these key minerals that the Chinese have deliberately cornered all over the world. And that's just one of them. Literally, they could turn off our ability to produce ammunition. That's kind of important for the Defense Department. Not to mention, they could also turn off our antibiotics, which we no longer produce here. They could turn off our cancer meds. And you've got Biden and the left driving us towards a green economy. China produces 90% of the world's solar powers and 90% of the world's lithium. That's the key element in the batteries that we need for a green economy. So we've got to bring them back home, and we are driving that conversation. But I tell you what, when we take the majority this November, that's when we're really going to put our foot on the gas.
All right, Congressman, you served in uniform with great distinction. What is our position on Taiwan? If China were to attack or invade, would the U.S. defend militarily?
Yeah, so we've had this historic policy called strategic ambiguity, where we kind of leave it up in the air to leave the status quo. Look, I think that was a fine policy, Trey, for many decades. But now that under Chairman Xi, and he is telling his country to prepare for war. He is actively threatening Taiwan. He is talking about replacing the American dream with the China dream and replacing the United States as a global leader. I think it's time to move on from that policy. Actually, Prime Minister Abe agreed that we need strategic clarity. You've heard the president kind of slip up, and I think that's what he wants to do as well. And then his advisors, roll him back. But I think it's high time that we make it clear as a deterrent measure and shift from strategic ambiguity to strategic deterrence and tell the Chinese Communist Party in no uncertain terms, we will defend Taiwan. And why is that so important to the American people? If they take Taiwan, they take the computer chips and all the trade routes to our allies. We can't allow that to happen.
Congressman Michael Waltz, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. Thank you for your service to our country in uniform also.
All right. Thanks, Trey.